Stelina.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Amanda. I think I was talking to Zoe about this event, and she told me that you guys are all on the pre-med track. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, awesome. I love that you guys are doing that. I myself chose nursing. So I went to nursing school at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas. I did 2 years there for my prereqs, and then I had to reapply again for a nursing school at Texas Tech, and then did my last 2 years there. When I was back in high school, I did a lot of shadowing. My high school offered a shadowing program for nurses when I was like in, I think, 11th grade, I think it was. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with Houston or Houston, Texas, but there's a great hospital, Houston Methodist West, where we did that once for one semester. We would go, I think, 3 times a week for 2 hours out of our day. The bus would take us and we would go shadow. And then 2 weeks would be a different kind of unit that we would go to. And then the next semester we went to Texas Children's Hospital, and then same thing. I went to a bunch of different floors. I went to labor and delivery. I went to the emergency room where I got to shadow respiratory therapists, and I went to the orthopedic floor at Texas Children's Hospital as well. And it was really, really great. It gave me experience, and it gave me like a window to apply for an EMS program that my local community college was offering. So I was able to take that program during my last semester of my senior year of high school, and I got my EMT basic license out of it, and it was great. I did 4 shifts, 12-hour shifts following paramedics in an ambulance, and I did so many calls. It was really great. The last 2 days I was very much of a white cloud, so I was just sitting around just studying, but it was fun. And I did 1 12-hour shift in a hospital, and I forget which hospital it was, but it was really, really great. And I did it because I wanted to find out if it was actually something I really liked doing, getting my hands dirty, being able to practice, talking to patients, and I absolutely loved it. I can't think of a better career for me. I did a bunch of research in a bunch of different colleges on who was going to give me my best chance at passing my NCLEX and who was going to give me my best training. And Texas Tech came with one of the best reviews. I think when I reviewed it, they were about 97-98% passing rate of their students for the NCLEX on their first try. So it was a great fit for me. I really liked the school when I went to go visit. So I went and I had a great time. I just graduated in May. And I made some really great friends over there, and I got to shadow a lot, and I got to do my clinicals in the NICU, a med surge floor that specialized in renal patients, but they took other patients as well. And the emergency room, I did 3 clinicals in the emergency room. So much fun. I think our second day there was back-to-back trauma, just all 12 hours long. It was a 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift, and it was just nothing but I remember one time I think I had brought cold pizza with me to eat for lunch, and I'm at the nurse's station trying to like get a bite in, and I see my nurse walking by. She's like, "All right, come on, we've got another one." And I said, okay, so like I took one more bite, put my mask up, and I just like walked over and I went over to where she was, and then we had another trauma rolling in. And then I did a different med surge floor on a different semester, but it was really, really, really great. I loved doing it. The NICU, part of the hospital's policy that I was in, the NICU required any baby born under 35 weeks to be admitted automatically to the NICU. And so there was a big hallway that connected labor and delivery to the NICU, because if they needed you, it was quick and it was just grab and go. So I got to see a lot of births while I was there too. Tons of C-sections, a few vaginal deliveries, and it was great because I got to learn what was going on with the mom, what was going on with the baby. C-section, it was an operating room, so I got to just like stand around and actually made friends with a lot of the surgical nurses and like crack jokes with everyone that was going on there while we were waiting for the baby to come out. But it was a really, really fun time. I got to do so much. what I liked in the NICU was that there was a lot of learning to it, but it's not, I guess it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. I mean, babies have always terrified me, the thought of dealing with children and thought of dealing with something just that tiny. So when I got told I was going to get assigned to the NICU, I was terrified. But they mostly gave me feeders and growers, which are babies that just, they're healthy for the most part. They're just born a little early, or they've gone through most of their treatment and procedures, and now they just focus on eating and growing and getting better and just growing in size and in calories. And you have to adjust their formulas and mix it with their formulas, mix it with the mother's breast milk that they're getting and the calories that they're getting. And so you have to hold them a certain way, because a lot of babies are too little to know, like, oh, I'm choking, or like something doesn't right, and like they don't have the strength of the muscles to like cough it up. So you've got to hold them a certain way so that they're leaning forward almost and still drinking their milk. And there's a lot of documenting of how much milk they're getting. Every time you go and you weigh them, you measure them, you change their diapers, you weigh their diapers, you describe their diapers. Is it stool? Is it urine? What is it? And it was really, really great being able to do it. The nurses trusted me, and it got to the point where they could just all go have a conversation. I was taking care of like 4 babies at once, because it was just great, especially if it was twins and they got to co-bed and they were in the same bed together, and I could just like change one while the other one just still stays snuggled up in her blankets, and it was perfect. It is hard. It is very, very hard. Any unit that you go to, any field that you guys are interested in, it's gonna come with its challenges. As great and as bright as the NICU sounds, there was very much a case that really got to me. There were 2 baby girls born, I think at 28 weeks, I want to say. And I read up on their history and their medical chart, so I knew everything. I knew that the mom had tested positive for meth when she was in labor, and these 2 babies were born in separate rooms. They were born together, but they were put in separate rooms and in separate isolate chambers. They weren't big enough, and they weren't strong enough to co-bed like another set of twins that I had. And I remember going in there, feeding them, documenting, doing everything that I was supposed to do. I had already known the history. They tell you don't judge, and they tell you, try to stay neutral. Obviously, some common sense things that you guys know as being healthcare professionals. Well, I went in, and I remember this little baby holding my pinky, as they do, because it's a reflex. And I remember she looked over at me, and her eyes dropped, and she just dropped her head, so exhausted. Like that little ounce of energy of holding my finger was just exhausting for her. And I had tears in the back of my eyes. I was like, well, get it together. But I told my nurse, like, oh, it's so cute that she's got a little hat. Like, that's so cute. Someone made a hat for her. It wasn't the hospitalized one, so you could tell it had been knitted with like some peach yarn. And he told me, he said, yeah, most of the time you see something like that, it's kind of been donated. And I looked, and sure enough, there was a whole stack of just baby clothes that had been donated from like a local church and local church group. And I took around my surroundings. I'm like, there is no family here. There's no one here for you. No one is at home taking the time to knit you something. The mom had left a note basically saying that she was going to go to rehab. Thanks for taking care of my babies. I'll be home soon. You never know anyone's situation. I never met the mom or the dad, or I heard of drama that was going on through nurses that had met them. And I mean, I don't know what I would have done if I had met her. I'm a very nice person, and I'm not one to confront people at all. So I do not see me confronting a mom or a patient or anyone really, but just trying to be understanding. And I remember getting off my shift at 7 a.m. That one was a 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. And I called my mom and broke down in tears because of how hard I knew that the struggle was going to go through for these babies. But I remember telling her, I know I just got out of a shift, but I want to go back. I want to go back and work again and give them their best fighting chance. I don't know what kind of world they're going to go into when they leave this hospital, and the world of foster care and court battles and parents who fight, and or, like, I don't know, but I want to give them their best chance when they do get out. And it really changed my perspective on nursing and handling patients, because I was able to take that with me when I transitioned to the ER. The ER can get a little bit crazy. You have psych patients, you have families, you have teenagers and elders, and anyone's going to come into the ER. I had a 16-year-old try to commit suicide. I performed my first CPR on an 82-year-old female who we were able to get her back after quite a few rounds of resuscitation. I had a psych patient that I saw it in her eyes. She wanted to hit us because we were inserting a catheter into her arm, and it was just one of those things, like it's crazy, and you never know what you're gonna get, and you never know what kind of patients you're gonna deal with, what kind of families, what kind of problems that you're gonna have. But I remember those babies, and I remember just I want to give my patients a fighting chance. I don't care where you come from. I don't care. I care where you're going, but wherever you're going, I hope that I can help you be stronger to deal with what you're going through. I did so much as a nurse. I don't know exactly where you guys are in your field of in your path. I don't know if you started doing clinicals already or doing shadowing. But once you start, or if you haven't started already, be open to anything. Nurses or anyone who you're going to shadow, they do not take kindly to people who if they offer you, hey, do you want to come see this, do you want to come try this, and you say, no, I'm okay, like I'm just good sitting here. That's someone that doesn't want to learn. That's someone that's not interested in this field. And my nurses would tell me, if they had students tell them that, they just stopped asking. They just, you know what, like, you can, if you want to watch, you can come watch. But they stopped asking. They stopped giving them chances. I heard a lot of my peers maybe complaining that the floor that they were on was boring, wasn't exactly what they wanted to do. And I just remember thinking, I am doing all this time, all this effort, paying all this money. I'm not going to let it be boring. I'm not going to let it waste my time. Like, I'm not a person that goes into something half-heartedly. I'm a person that does something to the best of my ability, because I went in this with a purpose. And I remember just like, I don't care if I have to change bedpans. I don't care if I have to turn a patient. I know it's the CNA's job. I know it's the nurse tech's job to take vital signs, but hey, I'll take the practice. We're slow. I'll go turn a patient, I'll go change them. I mean, sometimes you're not going to have the help. Sometimes you're shorthanded, and you won't have the nurse aides and the nurse techs there to help you, and you have to do it on top of your other responsibilities. So it was a really great experience, though, for me to talk to patients, talk to their families, deal with different kinds of things that I had already. I'm already comfortable with taking vital signs, but it's just practice. And those were my clinicals. I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. If you guys have more questions about what I saw, you guys are more than welcome to ask. I guess if I'm also talking about nursing school outside of just clinicals, it was a lot of studying. Again, I don't know exactly where you guys are yet in your med school path. I don't know if you've started applying for med school or just in your prerequisites, or it's just something that you're thinking about doing for med school. But if it's something you're committed to, it will almost tear you up. But I want to say it's worth it. It depends on you. This time last year, I was in the middle of finals, and I had just started my finals, and I was stressed out like crazy. I had stayed up all night studying. I told my mom I'm up studying and I had this big final that I have to do, and she took it upon herself to text my entire family, hey everyone, Amanda has a big final today. So I was getting messages all morning saying, good luck on your final, we're so proud of you. And it made me so nervous that if I failed, now I'm gonna let down everyone, because I'm already thinking that way about myself. If I fail, I'm gonna let down myself. But I remember just being so nervous, because I had already failed a class. My first semester of nursing school, I failed a class called pharmacology, and I got held back a semester. And I was not allowed to move on into the next level until I passed it. So the next semester was one class of just taking that one class all semester. And their policy is if you fail a second class, whether it be the same class or a different class throughout your 4 semesters of nursing school, 2 classes and you're kicked out. So I was taking this final, stressed out that if I didn't pass this final, I was not going to pass the class. If I did not pass this class, I was going to get kicked out of nursing school. And I was just stressed out of my mind. And I remember opening, this was back when we were still in a lot of Zoom on university, opening my laptop, signing in, taking the test. On the second question out of 70 questions that I had, I get this really bad pain in my abdomen, just terrible pain in my groin. And I'm thinking, crap, I started my period. That's exactly where it was. That cramps, ladies, that right in that groin area where you get those cramps, that's exactly where it was. And I told myself, damn it, like I can't believe this is happening to me right now in the middle of me taking my final. Like, this is an important one, this is a long one. Whatever. So I continue. I can't get up and go to the bathroom. I'm on the camera, I'm on the clock. I can't leave. It's not like I can raise my hand and ask the teacher, can I go use the bathroom real quick? So I sat there, I continued taking my final, trying to muster out. Usually I see guys on here, so if you haven't heard what period pains are like, it kind of goes up and down, and it goes away, and it calms and it subdues, and then another pain will come, and then it'll just cramping. But it did not go away. It was consistent, and it was getting slowly worse and worse and worse and worse. Towards the end of the final, about the last 2 to 3 questions, I had blinding pain. I could not even see the questions in front of the screen. I clicked random answers and hoped for the best. And as soon as I was done, I knew that there was going to be a big mess in my seat, and I went to the bathroom. There was no mess, thank God, but there was also no blood, and I was expecting there to be blood, and there was nothing. And I freaked out. I called my mom, told her there's this pain, I don't know what it is, I'm stressed out. And she calmed me down. She told me I needed to calm down, take some breaths, lie on the floor, lie with my feet up. Eventually it calmed down. The pain went away, and it was only day 1 of a week worth of finals. And I just remember being mad at myself. I remember getting on to myself about, man, Amanda, you're literally killing yourself over this. Like, what are you doing? Why are you stressed out this much? Why would you do this to yourself? You need to take care of yourself. Is this even worth it for you if this is causing literal physical pain to you? And it's something that you have to evaluate for yourself if it's going to be something that you want. Med school students, I can imagine you guys have even more school, even more studying, and more of a commitment to your guys' studies than nursing. I have a lot of respect for you guys. I have a lot of respect for what you guys do. But the foundation of being passionate for your work and being passionate for your education is going to be the same amongst anyone who likes doing what they do. It took a while for that pain to go away. I think for a week it was still sort of there in the background, but it was still there. And I sat back and I asked myself, and yeah, it was something that I still wanted to do. I started making changes. I tried not to stay up so late. I joined a sport. I do rock climbing now. I love rock climbing. I joined the sport at my school, and I still do it to this day. I found a great gym right by where I live. And you have to take care of yourself. Because if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of your other patients? It's something that I'm sure you guys have heard multiple times, but you don't think, oh, that won't happen to me until it actually does. Like, I never thought I would be someone to stress myself out that much until I actually did. So take care of yourselves. If this is something that you truly love doing, make it worth it. Don't let it kill your spirit. Don't let it kill something and make it something like it's just not worth it, because it is. At least to me it is, and I hope to a lot of you. The amount of numbers and evidence that we're having that we're going to have a healthcare worker shortage, nursing shortage, physician shortage here in the next few years, it's going to be overwhelming. We need people like us, and the field needs people like us and people like you guys who are willing to step up and willing to help others, because that's not going to go away. People are always going to need help, and it's always going to be something that people like us need to step up to do. If you feel like this is something that you want to do, and if you feel like this is your true calling, listen to it, go for it. It's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, and you're going to want to quit 1,000 times over, but do it. This is something that you love. Don't let it stop you. Just keep going. Find the little things that you love to do. Find the little things that make all of this worth it, because I promise you it will add up to a big thing. That final moment in the end. When I finally passed my NCLEX a couple months ago, and May 27th, I want to say that was the date when I finally passed my NCLEX, and it was over, literally over, because I graduated. I got my BSN, which is great, but I wasn't done yet. I had to take my license exam, and once I finally did that and it was finally over, fantastic. It's great. It's such a great relief. And I don't start my nursing job until October, so I'm excited for that. I'm going to be an ER nurse. Hopefully, I can level up. There's different things that you can do once you're an ER nurse. You can get your SANE license, which is a sexual assault nurse examiner, very special license to get. You can do flight nursing. There's so many things. Eventually, I want to be a nurse educator, and I want to teach at a nursing school, and that's where my long-term goal is. So this is something that I've been wanting to do for years, something I don't see myself stop doing, and it has really driven every decision that I've made since I was in 9th grade. 8th grade, I knew I wanted to be healthcare. 9th grade, I knew I wanted to be a nurse. In 10th grade, I signed up for my first health science class, and it's been every decision since then has led me to this point. So I'm really excited about what I do. I'm excited for you guys, and I really hope that you guys enjoy doing what y'all do. But other than that, I mean, I don't really have anything else unless you guys have any questions for me.
If you guys have questions, you can put them in the chat. And if not, we have like a list of questions that you guys already asked. So we can ask those questions too. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask one of the questions that you guys submitted in the Google form. So someone asked, how can I best get involved in research/shadowing opportunities offered by professors, researchers, and healthcare professionals?
There's a few different ways that you can do that. When I was doing my prerequisites, one of the classes that I had to take was a general psychology course, and they offered it. It was part of our class credit. We had to go to the university, to the psychology department, and sign up for clinical trials and sign up for different research studies, and it was part of it. So if your program does something like that, just get in contact with whoever's directing that program or the research department and ask them, hey, I don't want to do this just for school, I want to do this more. Your professors and your nurses will always know of someone doing something research. There will always be someone in your guys' faculty that will either know someone personally who does research or just knows of a department and can direct you. So just ask your teachers, ask your faculty, and they'll give you the right direction to go to.
Another question is, what would you say was the hardest part of college and nursing school?
The hardest part of college and nursing school, besides the studying and besides the almost killing myself with having a stress ulcer over it, I think I am one to be very careful with my decisions and certain having fun. It's a fine line between having fun because you're being in college and you're with all your friends and it's great, but also wanting to study. Of course you want to go out and party. Of course you want to go out and have drinks with your friends and get crazy. I mean, it's college. Who doesn't want to have that experience? But I remember those first 2 years, my friends would always ask me, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I told them, no, I did not want any single chance of being underage and someone sharing a picture, not even trying to expose me, but like in the background, me having a cup in my hand or something, because they will, oh my gosh, I used to be a CA at the dorms, and or an RA, other campuses call it an RA. And there are cases where people will investigate, were you underage, were you drinking underage? And I was not going to let that ruin my chances of getting into nursing school. Once I did get into nursing school, I was able to like have some fun and be like, oh, okay, now I'm actually in it. Now I'm doing it. Nothing's going to take that away. So now I can have a little bit fun. So finding that balance was hard for me, especially since my friends had already been doing it for 2 years and I'm just now joining the party, and they already know each other, they already have connections, and I'm still in the mentality of, oh, I have a test tomorrow, you know. So it's finding the balance of wanting to have the college experience but also have the best of your education is very, very hard and very difficult. But once you find it, once you find your right people, once you find your right support system, it flies by very, very easily.
Great. And one last question. What extracurriculars would you recommend doing in high school in order to like prepare you for like a pre-med or pre-nursing experience?
Anything that you feel that is interesting to you. Because I'll tell you what, it's not all about your academics. It's not all about your shadowing. I mean, yes, it is. They want to see people that shadow. They want to see people that have experience. But at the same time, you want to have something. You want to show that you're a human, that you're an actual person. I remember when I was applying to nursing school, not just Texas Tech, to nursing. I was already at Texas Tech, reapplying to their nursing program. My advisor telling me that she had a student 4.0 GPA in every shadowing thing that you couldn't understand, like anything that you can think of. She was in it, she had all these hours, and it was great. But she didn't get in because in her interview, she had nothing to talk about. When they ask you those questions, don't just say yes or no or just minimal answers. To talk about your experiences, get to know them, and show that you can smile, show that you can laugh. So, I mean, I show that you can cry. I mean, I think I told them about a very personal experience that happened to me when I was like back when I was probably, I think I was 12. But I was able to tie it and tell them, you know, I use that as an example of me being able to use a support system and talk about it and be okay with it. So as far as extracurriculars go in high school, find those things that make you happy. Find those things that not just because you think that a college will like it because you're applying to med school and they're going to want your shadowings, but do things that you want to do. If there's a dancing club, go do it. If there's tennis, go do it. They want to see people who are involved, and they want to see people who are true to themselves. And once you make those connections, and once you go out and you start talking to people and you start interacting and socializing, it makes it that much easier when you are in front of a panel of interviewees and or a panel of interviewers, and you're having to answer their questions and give them experiences, give them anecdotes, and give them jokes and something to make them laugh, something to make them like your personality. If you're at home all day, or if you're studying all day, when you get home and you're not used to talking to people, it can be very difficult for you. You can be the brightest person with everything perfect on your papers and everything perfect on your records, but they can't see that when they talk to you. So it's just something that you have to get used to. Get out of your comfort zone, do something that you love, something that you can talk about, and enjoy it.
Yeah, go ahead and ask the question.
Hi, so I'm in 10th grade right now in high school, and I was wondering how much the SAT scores matter, like how much you would need.
So I will admit, I'm a very bad example for that. I do not really care about my SAT scores, which probably is not what teachers or faculty, like principals, will want me to tell you, but it's just, I'd rather be honest with you guys. I came from a very large high school. About 1,000 kids graduated in my class alone, and I was able to fit into I think I was like number 27 out of my graduating class. And in the state of Texas, it's, if you are in the top 10%, I think UT is 7%, but if you're in the top 10% of your school, you get automatic admittance. So I already knew I was going to get automatic admittance to kind of anywhere I wanted to go. It really depends on your school, on your state, on your guys' policy, and honestly on yourself, on how well you want to do. I probably, there was a different school that I applied to. I think I also applied to the UT School of Nursing. So every nursing school is different. But most of them in the state of Texas are a 2-and-2 program, 2 years for your prerequisites and 2 years for the actual nursing school itself. But UT Austin, I think, was a different program, which it was all 4 years, was the whole nursing school. You didn't have to reapply. Once you get in, you're there, which obviously made it a lot harder to get in. And I think if I had been worried more concerned with my SAT scores, I think I probably would have had a better shot of getting in. But I didn't, which at the time I was very disappointed and disappointed in myself. Like, I wish I had taken it seriously, but it ended up working out for me for the best. I mean, I love the school that I went to. I love the experience that I had. I guess everything happens for a reason. So it just look into your program, look into where you want to go, review it, review from different students who went and applied, because there's reviews online. I remember when I was researching colleges, I had to review and ask, okay, like, do they actually care about your SAT scores and your ACT? And there were definitely a few that said yes, they do, or no, you don't have to. So just research your program, ask your teachers, and let them know that you're interested, and see what they have to say.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Someone asked, how do you think COVID-19 negatively or positively impacted your nursing education or experience?
So a lot of negatives, very much a lot of negatives. It was so hard. My third year of college, my first year of nursing school was Zoom online, and it was so hard. I mean, we're talking about 12, 14 years already of learning in person, never doing anything different. Already 2 years of college of learning the way I do, and I have to readjust everything. It was crazy. It was insane. Especially because from where I'm from, Houston, Texas, when I went to school, Lubbock is 8 hours away from Houston. I mean, I had never been that far away from my parents, so I couldn't go home on the weekends whenever I was feeling lonely. I mean, I called my mom. I FaceTimed her all the time because we weren't allowed to have visits. We weren't allowed to have guests, especially me being an RA. At the dorm I was at, I had to set an example for my residents, so I couldn't have guests in my room and like going to see people. It was hard. You can't get study groups together. You can't. Our clinicals were very much limited. I had to adjust how I was learning, how I was test taking. It was crazy hard. I think though what made it positive though is that being surprised with myself on how I was able to adjust on such a really harsh, drastic change. I mean, taking tests online, I found out I was able to talk through my answers. I was alone. There was no one around me. I was in my dorm room with my laptop. I was able to talk through my answers and slowly go through what I needed to go through. And you can't do that when you've got a bunch of people around you. I got to practice as much as I could at my dorm. They gave us like a big supply of like a fake head and needles and like a fake piece of flesh with like some foam in it, so I could practice doing IM injections, and I could practice doing sub-Q shots, and just over and over and over and again. I mean, I think, to be honest, I think that there are way more negatives than positives, but I'm always a person that looks on the bright side. So I think positively, I was able to rely on myself. I surprised myself how independent I could be, and through the most part, I just learned, it's going to be okay no matter what. I mean, let's be honest, this is probably not the hardest thing that I'm going to have to do in life. And it'll be okay. So just take everything that you have with a curveball, take it all in different perspectives. There's a bright side to everything. There's a negative side to everything. It's just how you want to take it and how you want to go forth with it.
That's awesome. So I think this is going to be our last question, but someone asked, do you think AP scores matter?
What state are you guys in? Are you, because you sent me the time for Eastern time, so are you guys in Texas?
I think everyone's like spread out around the country.
Spread out. Okay.
Yeah, and some international also.
Okay, so it very much it depends. My school was offering dual credit, so at the same time while they were in high school, they were taking classes, and our teachers were certified community college teachers as well. So while they were in high school taking their class, they were also getting community college credit, which is great for when you want to transfer. To be honest though, I heard a lot of students struggling with that. My own sister did that, and her husband, who was her boyfriend at the time, he did it as well, and they struggled with it. Something about technicalities with transferring your credit, and they ended up having to take the course all over again, and it made their career longer. It's a really hard question. It depends on your AP credit and your dual credit. I took a lot of AP classes, a lot of them. I think I took physics and what's it called, English, and I think US history AP. But I remember doing very well on my English credit. I think I made, what was it, like a level 3, which is the good one, which is the one that you need to pass. And what was it? What they don't tell you is later on there's a lot of technicalities. So let's say for English 1, you needed a 3 for passing. Great, I think I got that. Well, level 4, English level 4, you also needed a level 3 for passing. Great, got that. When I got to college though, they told me in order to basically waive my English credit, and I told them, which cool, that should be good. I got a level 3 on both of my AP courses in high school. They told me, well, that's not enough, because in order to completely waive it, you need at least a level 4 on one of them. And I was just I remember I had to scramble to find a winter course at my local community college that I could take in the month that I was home, trying to get that English credit, because it was the one credit that was going to set me back a semester for applying in time onto my nursing school. So just look at your technicalities, look at long-term what you actually have to do it. Because I mean, physics AP, I'm not, I guess I really do like school. I really do like learning, but I'm not trying to be a physicist. I'm not trying to go into physics. So if I could look back on it, I probably wouldn't have taken AP physics and just done something else, had more fun with my time in high school, because I knew it wasn't going to apply to my career. But if you're someone that doesn't really know what you're doing and what you want to do just yet, you're just kind of doing different kinds of things, go for it, do it. And it's just something, it's just kind of, it's up to you, and it really depends on your technicalities.
Thank you. If anyone has any more questions, you can just say them out loud, but if not, we can move on to our second speaker.
Hi, Amanda. I'm from India. I'm in 12th grade right now. And based on what you said, I know that shadowing and internship has a great impact on us, and it helps us get experience. But in India, we do not get such opportunities. So, like, if you want to get the experience you had or the knowledge that you got when you shadowed, what could you recommend is in place of shadowing internship?
It would really depend on where you are, and it would really depend on your school and what kind of programs that they have. Reach out to your teachers, ask them, is there any way I can volunteer wherever you can. If they don't have a shadowing or a nursing program, maybe some hospitals do volunteering instead, even if it's just something like, I remember I would just transport. When I think my first year of college, I volunteered as a transporter, and I wasn't even allowed to touch the bed. They told me I wasn't allowed to touch the patient. I wasn't allowed to unplug stuff, because we had to unplug it to move to somewhere else. Anything that you can, sign up for those courses that they do offer in your high school. Sign up for anything outside that you do. Watch shows. Like I started watching a great show on Netflix that talks to me about your what's it called, neuroscience and your nervous system in your body. I mean, basic fight or flight, but it keeps me fresh, and it keeps me in tune with the medical terminology and what's going on, so that I don't forget. Start with that. If you can't apply to anything that doesn't have a shadowing program or clinical program just yet, start getting familiar with medical terms and things, like read up on case studies. That way you will be familiar when the chance does come to you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, go ahead.
I think she just said thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. If you don't have anything else to say, I think we can move on to our second speaker, but thank you for giving that talk and telling us about your experience. That was really good.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. I mean, I love talking to young minds. Like I said, I want to teach out of nursing schools, and I want to teach the young minds. So whatever I can say to y'all to make y'all happy and believe in y'all's choices, do it. Go for it.
Thank you. So our second speaker, she's Miss Chu. She's already in the Zoom. So go ahead and tell about your experience.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and I'll be speaking with you all about my pre-med journey and the advice that I have based on my experiences. If y'all could type your name and if you're in high school or college in the chat box, I'd really appreciate it so I can really like tailor my advice. And please feel free to type any questions you may have in the chat throughout the presentation as well. And you can reach out to me on Instagram, which is at Healthcare with Hannah. Okay, is it possible for me to share my screen?
It should be.
Okay. Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
I'll try to fix that.
Okay, thank you.
You can try now.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, it looks like, here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
We can see
Okay,
it.
perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by talking a little bit about myself. So I am a rising sophomore in college and currently double majoring in biochemistry and biology on the pre-med track. I knew from my senior year of high school that I wanted a background in biochemistry, and it was something that I truly wanted to learn more about. Back then, I wasn't even thinking about how it's such a great major for MCAT prep. It was just a degree that I really wanted to pursue. I added a biology major the summer before my freshman year. I spoke with my advisor about how much overlap there would be between the degree plans for biochem and bio. So we decided that double majoring would definitely be possible based on that overlap and the amount of dual credit I transferred. So my school offers a few different biology concentrations, and I specifically chose cell and molecular biology because of the electives offered. So these are classes like medical genetics, immunology, molecular and medical biotech. But beyond that, I just have a desire to understand medicine on the cell and molecular level. And this summer, I actually picked up a minor in sociology because I absolutely loved the intro to sociology class that I took in the previous spring semester, which is one of the MCAT prereqs. Prior to that class, I had absolutely no idea what sociology even was, but my professor did medical sociology, so the way that she taught the class definitely influenced me. I also looked into the class requirements for a minor, which included classes like sociology of medicine, population health, and intro to gerontology. So that's really what solidified my decision. So for majors and minors, I suggest doing something that you're genuinely interested in and will do well in outside of your MCAT prereqs. Some of my friends combine English and biology. Some do just theater on the pre-med track. Of course, they still have to do their MCAT prereqs, but it just goes to show that you should do something that you're passionate about and that you're going to be able to talk about when it comes to interviewing for med school. As for my goals in medicine, I'm heavily leaning towards primary care. I absolutely love working with kids, so my specific interest is pediatrics, but I'm also interested in family medicine, geriatrics, and dermatology. I'm just fascinated with the human body in general, so it's very possible that my interests might change with like more exposure to other specialties, especially in med school. And I also mentioned on the slide that I have a strong interest in global health, and I'm really excited and curious to see how exactly that will play out in my career. I'm definitely not sure how that would look like yet, but that interest stems from immigrating from the Philippines when I was 2. Another thing that I'm interested in is becoming a civil surgeon, which are physicians who perform the immigration medical exam for green card applicants. And I actually entered college as an international student and recently received permanent residency. So if you are interested in like the medical path, but you're an international student, you can definitely reach out. And then I've also listed some things that I do on campus. So I'm a pre-health mentor, lab learning assistant, recruitment ambassador, and an events coordinator. Moving on to the pre-med timeline, I wanted to talk about my experiences and give you guys a general idea of what to expect and when. It looks like most of you are high school students, so this should be a good overview for the future. Don't stress about it, just see what's to come. So starting off with pre-college, in high school, I actually didn't realize until my senior year that I wanted to pursue pre-med. I was taking biomedical classes through the Project Lead the Way curriculum at my school, and obviously I love those classes. As part of that curriculum, my teacher exposed us to many medical related subjects. So we did patient charting, presented patients, redesigned emergency departments, ran ELISA tests, and we pretended to be genetic counselors too, among a range of other things. But those classes are what initially sparked my interest in medicine, especially since I had no prior exposure to the medical field. Fun fact, I actually took computer science classes and then I hated them. And then I decided to switch to biomed because I was just curious about the human body. And then fast forward to the summer before college, I took Gen Chem 1 through my college as a summer class. So if you are able to take these summer classes before college, go for it if that's something you want to do. I would also say to just take a break, relax, and have fun because that is the summer before college and you want to spend most of your time just relaxing before the school starts. So yeah, I just took the summer class because I wanted to take it. I like chemistry and I really just wasn't used to not taking a class over the summer. But I enjoyed it and did well. So that class overall reinforced my interest in chemistry. I also started volunteering at one of my local hospitals in the labor and delivery department. And then I continued that throughout the fall semester of my freshman year. In your freshman year of college, I would highly suggest just focusing on your classes. So build those good study habits and those study strategies to start off with a strong GPA. The transition from living in your hometown to living alone in college can be quite an adjustment. So having that on your plate is definitely enough. But do start getting involved in organizations, like find a pre-health organization that gives you like opportunities to grow with other pre-med students. And ideally, you should be going to social events, workshops. I'm looking for volunteer opportunities. And those organizations should have some guest speakers come and talk so you can get more exposure. I will say don't join too many organizations. Just focus on a few and truly get to know the people in them. I joined one large pre-health organization my fall semester and one cultural association too. And then I quickly realized that I didn't feel like either of those were right for me. I'm a very introverted person, and I feel like the goals of both of those organizations were very broad, so they didn't really align with my specific interests. So I left and I found another pre-health organization in the spring that aligned with my interests better, which was Global Health Student Network. So another suggestion I have is to start getting to know your professors. It can be much easier to do this as a freshman because even if you don't have any questions about like the class material, they'll be willing to talk to you about like how you're liking college so far and how your freshman year has been. So if you find it like difficult making conversation or if you're intimidated, then just go early on and then you'll be able to talk with them about very broad things. The summer after your freshman year it's where I'm at right now. It's a good time to start research and take summer classes. You can also do an internship, but you would have had to apply for one late in the prior fall semester. Make sure to spend your summers wisely and productively. Take breaks and have fun, of course, but also use the time to gain clinical exposure and experiences, especially if you're planning to apply to med school on the more traditional route. So this summer, I took statistics and I'm about to finish analytical chemistry. It's been tough, but we're almost done. I've also been volunteering at a hospice and a free clinic. And I started working as a recruitment ambassador for my school. So this summer has honestly been packed because on top of those things, I've had to move into a new apartment. So packing was very stressful. And I've been driving a lot to prepare for my driving test in a few weeks. So definitely get your driver's license before college and don't procrastinate on that like I did. But towards the end of my freshman year, I also interviewed and applied for several leadership positions at my school, a few of which I've started doing work for over the summer. So this upcoming semester, my sophomore year, I'll be helping host Global Health Week at my school as the events coordinator. I'll also be mentoring small groups of freshmen as a pre-health mentor and assistant teaching intro biolabs. I'm definitely nervous because it's a lot to take on, but for each of those roles, I have a great support system. And that's something you definitely should be looking for when you apply to leadership positions. As for classes, I'll be taking OChem 1, genetics lab, sociology of medicine, medical terminology, and a pedagogy class for the intro biolabs. While you should begin looking at medical schools a bit early on, just to see, what you like, the summer after sophomore year is a great time to dive deep into your research. Some students like to start MCAT prep in the summer, and the general time to start preparing for it is 6 months before taking it. So because you're doing your med school research, this is also a good time to begin pre-writing your secondaries, which are these prompts that you have to answer about like who you are as a person and what specifically interests you about that med school. And these prompts generally do not change, which is why many pre-meds like to pre-write them. I will say that as you're acquiring these experiences and growing in them, you should begin thinking about these questions and just doing a lot of introspection and seeing, why medicine, why being a physician specifically. These are the questions that you should try to be answering through your positions and your clinical experiences. So in your junior year, you will be preparing for your MCAT and then taking it in the spring semester or early in the summer. Some of my mentors have told me to take the minimum number of credit hours so I can focus on MCAT prep without burning myself out. In around April to June, you'll be applying to med schools. Throughout this time, make sure to stay somewhat involved in your extracurriculars and take care of your mental and physical health. So one of the habits I want to start implementing in my life is going to therapy. So my school offers it for free. So I'll definitely start taking advantage of that in the fall. A lot of pre-health students, including me, deal with imposter syndrome and natural negative thoughts. So one way to address that is by going to therapy. And early in the summer, you may decide to retake your MCAT. You'll be submitting your med school applications and then submitting your secondaries. Some of my friends have been doing this while studying abroad. So that could also be something to consider. During your senior year, you will hopefully be receiving interview invites and preparing for those. Decision letters will come out, and the time frame for that really depends on the specific school. But you'll be finishing your degree plan and, if possible, try to take medical related courses. So I'm hoping to take anatomy and physiology in my senior year as one of my bio electives. So moving on to more specific and immediately applicable advice for high school. In school, I would highly recommend taking AP, dual credit, or IB classes, and transferring those credits can be helpful depending on if they're applicable to the degree that you want to pursue. So I decided not to transfer any of my science credits because I wanted to take them again through my college and learn specifically from my college professors. And I didn't want to have to deal with like any of the technicalities when it comes to applying for med school and having those classes be from high school. But I did transfer in many general education and elective classes. Those weren't like required by med schools, so I knew that I could just check them off on my degree plan. So take medical classes if they're offered, because those should give you more like insight and exposure to medicine. And like I said earlier, I'm going to be taking medical terminology this semester, even though it's not part of my degree plan at all. I just really wanted to take it. Take your foreign language credit classes seriously and try to take them as AP or dual credit levels so you can have those checked off in your degree plan as well. Your college might not require foreign language classes, but many do, including mine, so that's something to be aware of. And use your college's equivalence course tool to see what classes will actually transfer. Start using a planner to build good time management skills and experiment with different ways to study in your classes. And then join school clubs that align with your interests and look for science or medical related competitions because you'll learn a lot if you compete in them. So like Science Olympiad or HOSA. Outside of school, find organizations in your community that you'd like to serve with. I joined my city's youth council and worked with kids at a science museum for most of high school. And that was really fun. Like when I was doing that, I wasn't thinking about pre-med or like the medical field at all. I was just doing them because I enjoyed them. But if you already know that you're very much interested in pre-health, volunteer at your local hospital and find ways to get clinical experience. Also shadow various health professions. So you have a good idea of which healthcare track you'd like to pursue and see what they do on a daily basis for yourself, if that's something that you actually want to do in the future. Reach out to research professors at your local university if you're interested in their research. They might be willing to train you. So for me, I actually reached out before my junior year, but then COVID hit. So that definitely fell through. But yeah, now that we're able to go back into like labs and classrooms, that's something that you should try to do. You can cold email professors, but you obviously have to express your specific interest about their research and not just be like, oh, I just want this experience. You have to really read their website, try to read their publications. It probably has a lot of terminology that you won't understand, but just get that general idea of what they do and express to them why you specifically want to learn about that. I also wanted to add to take care of your health, exercise regularly, eat well, sleep well, just because you have time now to do that. And just check in with yourself. So like build journaling habits, meditation, anything that really lifts you up and makes you your best self so that you can handle all of these other things. So some schools offer programs where you can get a medical related certification. I got certified as an EKG technician through NHA as part of one of my biomed classes, and that was fully paid for by my school. So your school might have a program like that. If they do, please go for it. And it's also a great way to have a part-time job in the future too. If that's something that you need, it'll also give you clinical exposure. So it like hits two birds with one stone. Yeah, so another thing I added was to get your driver's license. Again, like I said earlier, do not procrastinate on that. Be well read and stay up to date on current events, especially with what's going on in healthcare right now. Look into news about medical ethics as well. My school, well, my college, we have a medical ethics discussion society club. So that's something that you might want to start at your school if you're interested or know somebody who is. But the last point I have on here is to research BSMD programs. That would be a super huge commitment, but if you have the clinical experience and know 100% that this is the path you will be pursuing, then you might as well apply. Okay, so moving on to college advice. I'll go through a few of these and give you access to the presentation afterwards, so you can take your time reading into them. First, immediately create a degree plan on Google Sheets or Excel. This helps you visualize what your workload will be like each semester, and it can be useful for moving classes around. So like for me, I want to take the minimum number of credit hours during the time I'll be preparing for the MCAT. So this is a good way for me to see when and where I should put those classes. And another thing I want to emphasize is to use a planner or a calendar and follow through with that. That's the key to balance and time management. Plan in advance for exams, make time for everything, and especially make time for yourself. I use Google Calendar because it's super flexible. Moving things around isn't a problem because, you know, things don't always go as planned. So using a calendar that allows for that will make you more adaptable and efficient. Outside of school, make sure that you're getting clinical and leadership experiences. Keep a journal of your memorable experiences and what you learn. So I use Notion to keep track of that. And that can come in handy when you start working on your med school applications and your personal statement. Look for experiences that will expose you to what a physician does and will allow you to grow in those skills. So for example, physicians, they have to know how to communicate and to listen and to repeat what the patient says. And same with the rest of the healthcare team, of course. So you want to look for a job or like look for a volunteer opportunity that emphasizes that. So for example, I work as a recruitment ambassador for my school. That seems completely unrelated. I am literally calling prospective high school students and trying to convince them to come to my school, telling them about what we have to offer. But one very important thing about that job is listening to what they do in high school right now, what their interests are, what they want to do as a major, and being able to think on my feet based off that to see what programs we have available for them. So yeah, look for those experiences. And the last thing I want to mention is that summer internships typically open around November or December and close between February to April. So stay on top of those applications if that's something you want to do in the future. Okay, now I can start answering your questions. I'll go through the chat box, but feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. I also want to say thank you to Passion4Med for having me, and I hope that you're able to learn something, and feel free to reach out as well. Okay, so would you recommend taking pre-college courses during summer breaks in high school? It depends. So if don't overload yourself, of course, but if you're taking classes that you're interested in, then go for it. I did take a dual credit class during every summer in high school. And it was just the norm for me, just because I enjoy school. I really like learning, and I was taking classes that were interesting to me. But that was all also offered for free from my high school. So if that wasn't free, I definitely would not have done that, just because you can definitely do that in college. But like I said, it depends on how much you want to take on in the summer and if you're doing anything else. So if you're like volunteering, shadowing, interning, doing research, it really depends on your schedule and how much free time you have. How do you plan on preparing for the MCAT? Yeah, so that's a great question. There are different courses available, and there are textbooks or like practice workbooks. So I think I'm going to use a workbook for like content review and then just straight up do a bunch of practice exams leading up to the test date. And I want to study with a group too, but most of the time study by myself. So studying with a group will help fill in those blanks or those gaps. And then I also really like using Anki. It's this flashcard web app thing that incorporates spaced repetition. So that's another way to prepare. You can use pre-made decks or make your own. But I think like as for high school, when you're entering college, just really pay attention in your MCAT prerequisites, take good notes, and truly attempt to learn while you're in those classes. And that'll make it more natural, just picking up those concepts again. Do you have any specific tips to enhance your MCAS applications? So from what I've heard, just this is going to sound super cliche, but be yourself. Talk about your why medicine. And like I said earlier, do a lot of introspection. See why you truly want to pursue this career and like think about the formative experiences that you've had, the spark that first instilled your interest in medicine, and then the experiences that reinforced that. And you get those experiences by volunteering, shadowing, joining clubs at your school, etc. And then also make sure that you're getting your essays revised. My school has a pre-health committee where a bunch of different college professors interview us as like a mock med school thing, and they write letters of recommendation for us too. Oh yeah, Inky is great. So yeah, make sure to take advantage of all the resources your school offers. And like I said, with my school, we have a pre-health mentor program. So make sure that you're reaching out to your mentors, asking them for advice, and try to go to your pre-health department as well. I know it depends on the school, but my school has a really strong pre-med department because we have so many pre-med students. They might have more information on like specific advice for you based on, because they know what works or like what succeeds for their college students who have matriculated to med school, and they've talked to those students, so they might be able to give you like more specific advice based on like what school you go to and the opportunities that you have available there. Any more questions?
If there are no more questions in the chat, I still have some questions in the Google form that people asked that you can answer. Someone asked a question specifically for you, asking about like how easy it is for international students to be in the pre-med field.
Yeah, so I won't lie, it's difficult because many med schools just do not accept international applicants. And I remember going, well, I entered college as an international student, and I went to a pre-health symposium hosted by my school. And the attendees were representatives of med schools and their directors, and I spoke to a few of them. I asked them about how it would look like for me as an international applicant, and most of them said they do not accept international applicants. And then afterwards, I went to my pre-health advising office and I asked them specifically. And what they told me is that you can apply to med schools, and you have, as long as you are a competitive applicant. So there are state, but schools out of state are more willing to accept international applicants. But like I said, it is very competitive. So just make sure that you are really following through with your passions and are able to speak on them. And that is what will set you out as a competitive applicant. But also, they also told me to work towards like getting my permanent residency first, which I was fortunate enough to get in my spring semester. But the journey is different for everyone. Another option is to go into grad school first and get sponsored with a visa and then return to med school or apply to med school. So it really depends on your own specific situation. Just do your best in everything that you do and join clubs and organizations and find opportunities that really align with your passion so you can maximize them.
So going off that question, possible major.
Oh, it depends on that you're going to. My school offers most of their like minor classes online. So like, for example, some students here, a lot of students actually do a business minor and all of those classes are offered online. Are you like coming from another country and like going to college there, or?
Can you repeat your question?
Is the student asking the question like from another country, or are they an international student here?
I'm actually not sure who asked the question. It was sent in our Google form, but I can
Okay.
try and see.
Yeah, because if you're already here as an international student, then that's something you can definitely do. But if you are out of the country looking to like minor online, then that's something that you have to, I think you would have to really email the university about that. There are several international students I know of who are still living in like their own country while taking online classes here for their major. So I think it's possible, but it depends on your school.
Another question. Oh, also, if you don't mind, could you tell everyone what college you go to?
Oh yeah, I go to Baylor University. It's a school in Texas.
One more question. How early, well, you kind of answered this in your talk, but how early did you know what you wanted to do for you to find a specialty, or what specifically in the medical field you were interested in?
Yeah, so I knew I was interested around like the senior year of my high school based on the classes I was taking. I didn't really, well, I was open to everything. I loved learning about everything. And I think that's why family medicine stood out to me, because it is a very general specialty. And then I started considering pediatrics after I realized how much I love working with kids and what kind of patient populations that I really wanted to work with. And then as for like primary care in general, I volunteered at a labor and delivery department. So I spoke with some patients and I just really got to see how important it was for them to have a primary care provider. I also volunteer at a free clinic for the population here who are not eligible for health insurance. And so the doctors who came in, a lot of them were family med, and they just volunteer their time to do that. That's something that I really want to do. So I just got a really great impression of family med based on that.
Okay. If anyone else has any questions, you can put them in the chat or say them out loud, but I can ask another question from the forum. So someone asked, as a non-science student, what should I do to increase my chances of getting into medical school and actually passing and doing well?
Oh, okay. So, well, like I said earlier, a lot of my friends, like they don't major in natural sciences, but they're still pre-med. So just do well on the MCAT prereq classes. So, because you'll be taking that even if you're a non-science major. And a huge part of medicine is science, obviously. So make sure that you're understanding those prereq classes. But another big part of medicine is just being able to talk to people and relate to their experiences, understand them, and communicate with them. So you do not have to be a science major to do that. I will say that getting those science like experiences is a lot to do with taking science classes and just knowing how to study for those. So I would still recommend doing really well in your science classes if you're a non-science major, and the MCAT too.
Thank you. Those are really good talk. So if anyone has any like last minute questions, go ahead and ask them. But if not, Zoe will introduce our third and fourth speakers.
I pasted the link to the presentation in the chat box as well, if anyone wants to access that.
Thanks. I know a lot of people were looking for that.
Okay, I'll just make sure our next speakers are ready. So give me 1 minute.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Vivian Mapano. I'm a medical physician. I do family medicine. So if you are in the group, you might still be deciding your career or already decided and maybe getting confirmation. So I'm hoping I can shed a little light or help you a little bit. I do family medicine. We are generalists. I think it's a very personal profession. I love what I do. I'm excited. I will do it over and again, all over again if I have to. It keeps me on my toes. It's very challenging, and family medicine is so broad. So there's endless possibilities and challenges if that's what you're looking for. We see as early as newborn, we help deliver or deliver them ourselves. We resuscitate, we collaborate with neonatologists and follow them and still them our patients and consult with pediatricians. We follow them childhood and teens and adulthood, and we see seniors and geriatrics to palliative care, and we can subspecialize in palliative care as well. We do women's health. I do pap smear on a regular basis. I can train to insert IUD. We do contraceptive implants if we choose to be trained for. We guide patients with their medical choices, maybe explain and discuss their concerns, especially side effects. It's very rewarding what I do. The trust that you gain from patients and their consults, and they pretty much reach out to you for almost anything, emotionally, physically, their medical health, and as early as preventative. We do prenatal cares. If you do want to train with labor and delivery, you can deliver your own patients. You can collaborate with OB if you do C-section. We also follow them in the hospital. We do postpartum care as well. So we treat postpartum depression and complications, and we collaborate with high-risk OB physicians as well. I am particularly interested in surgery, so I made sure I have minor surgery in my practice. So I do biopsies, I do incisions, I do repair, I do wound care, I do joint injection. I'm very specifically interested with procedures anyway, so I made sure that's part of it. You could also train in other procedures like colonoscopy or endoscopy, and you can do that in your practice. Not a lot of primary care doctor does that anymore, but you can if you choose to. You can do sports medicine. You can be out there in the field. You can do sports physical for any athletic team or maybe in the community in general. For rural health primary care doctors, you can train in dental care, and you can do even dental extraction. So you can be a standalone doctor in a community because your scope is so broad. You can also do cardiac stress tests in your own practice. We do treadmill, and we trained in that course. And you can further this also. You can do extra training in cardiology if you choose to, even during your residency. You can work with home health. You can do palliative care and of life care as well. If you're interested in more physical therapy or rehab, you can do extra training there and still incorporate that in your broad practice. Allergy injections, we do vaccinations. If you're specifically interested in dermatology, you can do procedures. You can do Botox injection or any dermatologic procedure. You just need extra training, but you can branch out if you are in family medicine. So you can actually expand your scope as broad as you want or as narrow as you want, depending on your interest. You can do home visits. It's a very personal medical care. You can see your patients in their homes and really see what they need. You can collaborate with home health nurses, physical therapy. You can go to nursing homes and see your patients there. If you want to do hospital medicine, you can. You can see your patients in the hospital and work with hospitalists and ICU physicians. If you prefer urgent care, more of like an emergency medicine type, you can do both. You can do hybrid. You can train in ultrasound and read them. You can read your own x-rays, of course, interpret your own lab. You can do that. You can have your own lab too in your clinic if you want to. If you're more into pharmacy, you can train further, and you could probably work with other pharmacies to prepare certain medications that are not available already off shelf. You can subspecialize in family medicine depending on your interest. You can do adolescent medicine, you can do geriatric medicine or hospice and palliative care and do that. You can do sleep medicine if you want to do sleep studies and just focus on that if you want to, or part of your practice. You could do pain medicine and manage pain as well. You could do rural health, you could do research, or hospital medicine, or just be a hospitalist if you want to. Subspecialty also is preventative research. If you do maternal or women care, you could do alternative medicine as a family practitioner. This is a part that is unorthodox, where you know, if you're more into herbals or acupuncture or alternative ways to treat your patient, you could be both, or just the alternative medicine. Or if you're more academic, you could be into faculty development. You can do global medicine or international medicine. This is a subspecialty in family medicine where you are more, this is a healthcare concern with the influence of environmental or topographic or climatic factors in healthcare. You could also work with international medical practitioners in research. So it's really, really broad what I do. You could include all of that or narrow it down depending on, you know, how broad you want to go. But You could narrow it down to just outpatient or inpatient if you want to. You may or may not have procedure depending on, how you run your practice, or depending on what your group, if you join a group, what they offer, you could. I like what I do. It's very challenging. You get to investigate. You're the first line, so you have to be able to recognize or uncover hidden symptoms and come up with your own diagnosis. I like that I can continue to care for my patients, so it's not a one-time see and no follow-up. I get to follow up on them. They call me, I call them, we exchange messages, we email. So you can really follow through. You can even see the results of your management if it's working. You can make changes, you problem solve. It's very intellectually challenging as well. You're not the last line, which is a good thing, because if you hit a wall and did everything you can and might need help, you could always refer to specialty groups. Say you could form a team to treat a certain disorder if it's tough. You could refer locally or even out of state, and you could really design the treatment for that patient. You become your patient advocate. You do deeper participation in healthcare. I like what I do. I have a comfortable lifestyle because I can design my work schedule. I start work at 8:30. I decided to end my work at 5. I want to make sure I have enough time for family and balance. It's, of course, very physically and mentally demanding. You have to always update yourselves on what are changes in medicine, but the job satisfaction is very high because you like what you do. You get to prevent, you get to save, you get to solve problems, or a lot of times it's just really being able to help. There are world of opportunities in my practice. It's very vast, but there's a lot of room to grow as well. So it depends on what you're interested in. You can design your own practice. You can venture out. I don't know what else you want to know about family medicine, but I could get questions.
If anyone has any questions, they can put it in the chat. But otherwise, I think I still have the Google form. All right, so one is, how early did you know what you wanted to do, as a career?
I always wanted to be a doctor early on already. So that's good that I was decisive, but there's a lot of rooms for crossroads or indecisions, of course. Even during your practice, you can still change your mind. I was particularly interested in a lot of fields, so I thought family medicine was perfect for me, and I don't regret that. I particularly like surgery, but it was very competitive, so my second choice is family medicine. So in my practice, I made sure I have surgical procedures still. So it's very, very early on. So medical school and training is a process, but I had already a goal in mind. So I think that helped because there had been a lot of challenges during that process. But because I know what I want to be, and I was particularly focused on this specialty, it wasn't hard for me at all.
Okay, great. And there's another question. Have you ever done another specialty, or have you ever considered anything other than family medicine?
Like I said, my first choice was surgery, but family medicine is a good second choice because it's inclusive. So no, I have these two choices, and I was able. I'm glad I was able to get into the program of the specialty of my choice. I considered doing subspecialty, but I thought I could just do extra training during my practice and incorporate that anyway. And if I do subspecialize, it could narrow down my practice. So I just thought I could do extra training on any field that I want to. Just like I said, I was considering sports medicine as well, but I could already do that without extra training. And my profession allows me to do that. Now, if I do choose to do extra procedures, that's when I need extra training, but that's not very long. You can do months of training and then do additional procedure in your practice.
Okay, and another question we have is, do you run your own private practice?
Nowadays, it's not very smart to run your own practice. That's an old way of practicing medicine. This is all because of insurance-driven cost. It's smarter to join a group cost-wise and stress-wise. If you run your own practice, you don't only worry about your patient, but also the logistics in the office. It's very taxing, it's too much. There's a lot of benefits of joining a practice. You can focus on your patients and let the group worry about the rest. Like, you're not worried if you're missing one nurse, or you have to also use electronic medical record, and you could delegate that to other staff if you are in a group. So I never considered running on my practice. It's more expensive that way, is what I've heard. So I like being in a group because I really do want to focus on what I do and not worry about other things, especially the administrative part of medicine. But you can, if you choose to, you can also do hospital medicine if you want to see your patients in the hospital. A lot of primary care doctors still does that, but majority in my practice, we have hospitalists in our group. So it's good that we are part of the group. The continuity of care is the same because we're using electronic health medical records.
Okay, and there are two more questions that were put in the chat. One of them is, does your specialty require certification? If so, how often do you have to be certified, and how do you prepare for that?
Yes, and I think it's very important that you be certified. You have to keep up with the changes. There's a lot of medical advances and changes, and you cannot be behind, especially if you're a primary care doctor, because your scope is so broad. Like, if there are changes in pediatrics or in geriatrics, in adult or women's health, you have to keep up. Clinical guidelines change all the time. Drug of choices change, and there's a lot of medications almost every minute changing. So you have to be able to keep up. So I like that we have to be certified. So every 8 to 10 years, but you have to continue your CMEs on a regular basis. So every 2 years, you have to complete written or live CMEs. And I like that I'm an ongoing student. It's very humbling too, because if you don't keep up, it's not really just academically challenging for you, but your patients can suffer too. So I think I like the system that we're able to be, we're able to learn and go back to school and relearn maybe even the old facts that we have, that we were taught in the past. It's particularly broad for family medicine. So, it's not just learning about women's health or geriatrics. You have to include neonatology or teen or, psychiatry. Challenging, but it's exciting.
Okay, another question we have is, are you a resident doctor or an attending?
So I'm attending. I've been practicing for 14 years now. I'm part of a big group. We are a multi-specialty group. And I see newborns to senior geriatrics. I don't deliver babies, but I was trained to. I don't do hospital visits. I do urgent care. It's part of my practice.
And a few more questions came in. What exactly does a family medicine doctor do, and who do they generally see?
Okay, so we see newborns, kids, and adults in geriatrics or seniors. We treat common diseases. We are the first line. Like, you come to us for any problem, we figure out, we diagnose, we treat. I think it's important. Family medicine is important because you can be a standalone, your first line. Like, if you're a patient, you don't have to see a heart doctor right away. If you have cardiac symptoms, or you don't have to separately see an ENT for colds or separately see a dermatologist for rash. You'll end up seeing 5 or 6 doctors if you don't have primary care doctor. And primary care doctors coordinate care. So if you're seeing a cardiologist or a neurologist or a rheumatologist, you want one doctor to coordinate your care. One of them have to know what medications you're taking, how about drug interactions. Someone has to somehow design your care. Who should you see? You should have a guide on, how to manage your care. And family medicine are the frontliners. It's very challenging, but the good thing is you can always get help from other specialists and collaborate with them. So you can form a team, you team up with other specialties. Now, in rural health, we're specifically important because for the underserved, we could be the standalone doctor. We could deliver, we could do minor procedures, we could resuscitate, we could do dermatologic or ENT or cardiac management. That's primary care. And that's exactly why I like what I do. It's so broad, and I have good variety of patients.
All right, another question is, do you use physician assistants at your practice? And what are your thoughts about them?
We do. In my opinion, there's a shortage of family medicine practitioners. A lot of the medical students are venturing to specialties and subspecialties, and for obvious reasons. So now we have a lot of PAs and nurse practitioners. We need a lot of primary care doctors because we're the first line. So we have to, we need help from PAs and nurse practitioners because we have so many patients. We are the first liners. So almost everybody have to see us first rather than directly seeing their specialists. So we do. In my practice, I have my own PA. We have nurse practitioners. We have PAs running our urgent care. And it's a good collaboration.
All right, and the last question I'll read is, what's the difference between internal medicine and family medicine?
Family medicine is broader, like we do newborn to senior geriatric. For internal medicine, it's mostly adults. They don't do pediatrics or OB. They don't do women's health like pap smear. It's just the medical part of it. They do hospital medicine. They also work with other specialty group, but it's really the age group that's the biggest difference. A lot of it is just adult rather than pediatric, teens, or geriatrics. And the procedures, I don't think they do procedures like we do. They don't do colonoscopy or biopsies or surgery or joint injections. We do that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And would our fourth and last speaker like to jump in as well? Thank you again.
You're
Hey,
welcome.
Zoe. Hi, everyone. My name is Mara Adachi. I am here based out of Honolulu, Hawaii. I've been working for 28 years with Kaiser Permanente, which is a big HMO organization that's throughout the US, mainly in Hawaii, Southern Cal, Northern Cal, Georgia, Colorado, and the Northwest area. Currently, I work as a senior system administrator, specifically working with the system EPIC, which I know that Centera and many other hospital organizations is using. Previously, I worked as a pharmacy tech, and I transitioned to my role now. With Kaiser Permanente, as I mentioned, I was here for, I've been employed for 28 years. And so when we transitioned to electronic medical records, I was part of the original team that started the system. And so currently I work with Willow Inventory. I'm certified in Willow Inventory and Willow Inpatient. Previously, I was working in ambulatory. And so as a senior system administrator with Epic, what we do, depending on your organization, we tailor the needs of our users, which in my previous roles at ambulatory, mine was more like the physicians and nurses, radiologists, physical therapists, anybody that works in the ambulatory setting. And whatever the department that they're working in, I tailor the system to their needs to make it more user-friendly. So as they see the patient, they're able to enter the information into the system. So as many of you know, like when you go to the doctor's office, you know nowadays that they enter your information in the medical chart. So that's what I do in the background. I tailor and the program, which is called EPIC, and for Kaiser Permanente. And so currently right now I work with I think that's pretty much it for myself. I did have many of my colleagues also have a medical background. For a senior system administrator for organizations, you can work in different applications. Again, I work with the inpatient, but we also have ambulatory, emergency medicine, cadence, which is appointment sections, and radiology, Pyxis, a whole gamut of applications. And what's good about the certification, you can go to different organizations. You don't have to stay at one location. And what's great about my role is that I can work remotely. So currently I'm working from home. Previously, I was working at the office, but when COVID hit, we started working remotely, and now I'm currently working remotely from home. And like for my position, because I work for Kaiser Permanente, I can also be at other locations that have Kaiser Permanente. So previously, earlier this year, I was working in Virginia for at least 3 months, working and still servicing my customers. Does anyone have any questions? And I apologize, my cat's talking in the background.
It's okay. And if anyone has any more questions, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. But meanwhile, I can read some questions that we had in our Google form. So, what inspired your idea to follow this career?
Well, ironically, this was by accident, because initially I was actually planning to go to nursing school, and I was pretty much halfway there, but then for certain reasons, I couldn't handle the clinical my so I was working in the pharmacy administration and was offered the position of working as a pharmacy tech. So that one was a more of a on-the-job training, and then I gained the certification to join the project, which now is more of a permanent position. So it was like an accident per se. Now, as far as you require you to come to users to get in Wisconsin, where Epic is at, and usually we would have to attend courses and then finish projects and become certified in order to be able to use the application for that organization. And again, what's great about the certification, you can move to different hospital organizations. Like in my case, I work at Kaiser, but if I wanted to move to another organization, I can do so based on my certification. And you can hold multiple certifications, not just limited to one. I think I have a colleague who has about 15 certifications with Epic. He's kind of like a jack of all trades.
Great. And another question is, what was the hardest part of college for you?
Well, for this, fortunately, because of my years experience, again, as I mentioned, I've been working for Kaiser Permanente for 28 years. That my years experience working on the system, I was fortunate, but for those now moving forward, they do expect a college degree plus experience in the computer settings. So they should have a computer science degree. Again, for those who started off, such as myself, they were more lenient, but now it does require for you to have a computer science degree or something similar to that. And as I mentioned, a lot of my colleagues also have a medical background. So I have colleagues that are nurses and physicians and rad techs, pharmacists who segue into the administration field.
Okay, so I don't see any more questions in the chat. If anyone has any more, you can feel free to unmute or type it in. All right, so if you can answer this, someone asked, how could they get into shadowing opportunities?
As far as senior system administrator, well, because of the PHI, it's kind of hard to shadow, but if you have the opportunity, you can watch, like Zoe, you saw what type of work I've done. You witnessed everything that I've done. So, but they can make plans with their local hospital organization to see if they're able to meet with that IT folks to see if that's the interest that they want for the senior system administration. Because I know in Centera, they have the same program. And so if you can reach out to their IT department, they might be able to allow you to shadow to see if this is a field of interest for you. And also, if you look up for, like I said, senior system administrators is for a different type of organization, but I work specifically for the medical. So if you look up Epic and university, they can also offer certifications or proficiency. So we've had people who actually got became self-certified, and that was they were able to move around. And what's so great about this is that Epic also trains not only here domestically in the US, they also train in Dubai, Shanghai, Singapore, many different countries. So so this is a really good field. We've actually had people, I have colleagues that moved in to become a trainer, and with that, they had the opportunity to train not only here in the US, but in other countries. And so if you're interested in that, and I know with Epic, they visited colleges to recruit potential employees. So they take a lot of fresh faces or graduates right out of the college, and then hire them for training. So if this is something that you're interested to do, I highly suggest that you pursue and check out Epic.
Okay, and since I don't see any more questions, if any of the speakers would be willing to answer any more questions that our students might have later on, feel free to drop your email in the chat. But otherwise, thank you for speaking with us, and I think that's about it, since you were our last speaker and everyone else seems to have their questions answered.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. I'm glad we were able to have this event and session, and I hope it was informative for all of you. And if you have any questions, the speakers are dropping their emails in the chat. But otherwise, thank you all very much for attending. And we'll be sure to hand out our shadowing hours for everyone that attended for the full duration of the event. Okay, so I have recorded this for everyone that wants to catch up with the recording that wasn't able to attend. So thank you again for the speakers and all the students that attended. We'll email you about that, the shadowing hours. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Yep. And I will now close this out. Have a nice day, everyone.